On May 24, 1963, after his aircraft malfunctioned while flying from Area 51, test pilot Kenneth Collins successfully ejected from his aircraft and crashed near Wendover, Utah. Passing by, a truck driver pulled him out of his canopy and offered to take him home. But the pilot refused, saying his F-105 was loaded with nuclear weapons. So the driver brought him to a nearby highway patrol office instead. Avoiding arousing too much suspicion, he called back to his people at Area 51. Once back home later that evening, test pilot Collins was acting strange. His wife, Jane, a very understanding woman, did not make a fuss when her husband couldn't explain his condition. But Ken Collins was forbidden to talk about it. He appeared to be very drunk, as the truth serum was still in his system. News articles and official records from that day reported an F-105 Thunderchief had crashed. The cover-up efforts were successful. Neither Mrs. Collins nor the general public would learn about the CIA's A-12 Oxcart for 30 more years. In 1954, under the guidance of Richard M. Bissell from the CIA, the development of a remarkable aircraft called the U-2 commenced. 2 years later, the aircraft became operational, but experts remained skeptical about its effectiveness against the Soviet bloc. During its inaugural flight over Soviet territory, the CIA discovered that not only did the Soviets' defense system detect the U-2, but it also tracked it with remarkable accuracy. Nonetheless, the U-2 remained an exceptional and invaluable intelligence source for nearly 4 years. Although efforts were made to improve its safety and reduce its visibility to radar with new radar-absorbing materials, it wasn't enough to solve the problem completely. In the fall of 1957, Bissell commissioned an analysis to study the impact of speed, altitude, and radar visibility on the chances of shooting down an aircraft. The investigation revealed that flying at supersonic speeds significantly reduced the likelihood of radar detection. While it did not eliminate the risk of being shot down, a supersonic approach became a serious consideration. From that point onward, aviation developers entertained constructing an aircraft capable of flying at extremely high speeds and altitudes while effectively absorbing radar. Preliminary work began in late 1957 to develop a successor to the U-2 for overflying the Soviet Union. Lockheed and the Convair division of General Dynamics were informed about the requirements, and their designers started working on the project without a contract or government funding. In late November 1958, a review panel from the CIA concluded that it was possible to construct an aircraft nearly invisible to radar due to its high speeds and altitudes. And so, they rolled up their sleeves. After the failure of Project Rainbow, an attempt by the CIA to reduce the radar cross-section of the U-2 aircraft, Lockheed and Convair were asked to submit proposals. The project was codenamed Gusto, and Lockheed's design emerged as the victor, chosen over Convair's Fish and Kingfish designs. The A-12 boasted superior specifications and lower projected costs than Convair's design, incorporating updates such as twin-canted fins and non-metallic materials. Furthermore, Lockheed's successful track record with the U-2 and experience with black projects significantly influenced the selection of the A-12, also establishing very high expectations. Consequently, the legendary Clarence Kelly Johnson, who had spearheaded the remarkable U-2, led Lockheed's team at Skunk Works. Leveraging Johnson's innovative design and calculations, the U-2 could fly at extremely high altitudes, approaching the edge of space. Additionally, the test flights of the U-2 led to the establishment of the infamous Area 51, a secluded airstrip known as Groom Lake in Nevada. However, the A-12 had a unique requirement. It needed to sustain high speeds for extended periods, unlike other fast aircraft that only reached supersonic speeds briefly. This meant it had to withstand the intense heat generated by the air rushing past it at speeds exceeding 2,300 miles per hour, sometimes resulting in temperatures over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Traditional materials like steel and aluminum were unsuitable for this task. Overcoming this challenge required a special titanium alloy. Unfortunately, the United States did not possess enough titanium, but the USSR did. The CIA secretly acquired the necessary titanium from the Soviet Union using third parties and shell companies. The A-12 project required the development of new technologies and materials, from cutting-edge innovations in titanium fabrication, lubricants, jet engines and fuel, to navigation, flight control, electronic countermeasures, radar stealthiness, and pilot life support systems. Forming titanium into curves proved challenging. Hence, the solution involved machining small fillets of the material and gluing them onto the underlying framework. Besides, The A-12 incorporated radar-absorbing composite materials from iron ferrite, silicon laminate, and asbestos to improve radar stealthiness. The Archangel was born, later to be called Oxcart, and it was ready to take on its crucial mission. But then, the international situation deteriorated. Not only was the use of the A-12 beset by many technical challenges, but it also increased political sensitivity to aircraft flights over denied areas. Soon after, in 1960, a U-2 piloted by Francis Gary Powers was shot down over the Soviet Union. As a result, all overflights of the USSR were halted, canceling the A-10's original mission of monitoring the communists. Additionally, satellite imagery, invulnerable to anti-aircraft missiles, rendered spying missions and overflights outdated. Nevertheless, the development of the aircraft proceeded. When it was time to test the new A-12, Groom Lake again served as the ideal location. All that remained was to find skilled pilots willing to participate in this dangerous and covert mission. But most importantly, loving husbands. When crafting the selection criteria for potential A-12 pilots, Air Force officials, CIA representatives, and aero engineer Johnson agreed on various prerequisites. Among them were the physical requirements necessary to accommodate the aircraft's tight cockpit, and the demand for at least 2,000 hours of flight time, half of which had to be logged in high-performance jets. Yet one condition noticeably distinguished itself from the rest. Pilots had to be married, emotionally steady, and well-motivated family men. This was not a nod to social norms, but a calculated safety measure. During the era of Project Oxcart's inception, defections were a likely occurrence. Between 1945 and 1962, no fewer than 12 American intelligence officials betrayed the United States, pledging allegiance to the Soviet Union instead. Among these was a United States Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald. After his defection in 1959, he returned to the U.S., bringing with him a new Russian wife, and then infamously rising through history in 1963. The marriage requirement acted as social insurance against putting a potential defector inside the cockpit of America's most expensive, technologically advanced, and secretive aircraft. After a lengthy screening period filled with mental stability tests, only 11 pilots were selected for Project Oxcart. From that point onward, their loyalties, instead of being owed to the Air Force, lay firmly in the hands of the CIA. Due to Soviet air restrictions, the 12 completed A-12 jets were instantly doomed for a brief operational lifespan. However, the A-12 filled a vital role for 10 months by providing rapid, high-value photographic intelligence over Asia, where political and military risks were deemed acceptable. Under Operation Black Shield, between May 31, 1967 and March 8, 1968, CIA operatives flew the A-12 on 29 reconnaissance missions over Cambodia, North Korea, and Vietnam, operating from Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan. The panoramic stereo cameras on each aircraft produced high-quality imagery, which photo interpreters then used to extract critical intelligence. President Lyndon B. Johnson initially feared reports that North Vietnam had obtained surface-to-surface missiles for attacks on South Vietnam. In May 1967, a CIA Oxcart flew over northern Vietnam and recorded a mile-long reel of footage, dispelling Johnson's fears by confirming that Hanoi did not possess such technology. These A-12 intelligence flights, part of Black Shield, significantly influenced the president's decisions to carry out air raids during the Vietnam War. While Chinese and North Vietnamese air defenses did not detect the Oxcart during these missions, the aircraft's rudimentary stealth features proved insufficient against Soviet-built radars. On October 28, 1967, an S-75 missile launch targeted an A-12 but failed. After this near miss, Black Shield flights were temporarily suspended. But another close call was around the corner. On January 23, 1968, North Korean patrol boats captured the USS Pueblo, an American spy ship in international waters, taking her crew hostage. Fearing the incident might trigger a second Korean War, Johnson authorized an A-12 flight over North Korea on the 26th. The pilot's photographs located the USS Pueblo near Wonsan, anchored beside two patrol boats, and showed North Korea had not mobilized troops for war. Johnson used this information to rule out plans for a preemptive or punitive strike, instead turning to diplomatic measures. This decision led to the crew's release nearly a year later. During the crew's captivity, Oxcarts flew 2 additional missions over North Korea to monitor the ship. The A-12's high development, manufacturing, and operating costs pressured the U.S. government, already strained by the Vietnam War and other defensive priorities, into re-evaluating its spending. Project Oxcart ended in 1968, but its successor, the SR-71, continued to fly for several more decades. The SR-71 Blackbird, introduced in 1966, was another creation of Clarence Johnson at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. Following the A-12's retirement, the Blackbird assumed its reconnaissance work over North Vietnam, Laos, and the Middle East. As a two-seater aircraft, accommodating a reconnaissance systems officer alongside the pilot, and with more extensive reconnaissance equipment, a titanium body, and radar countermeasures, the Blackbird was considered a more versatile aircraft. During its 3 decades of service, it was never shot down. The SR-71, a somewhat refined version of the A-12, often draws comparisons to its predecessor. Even though it was surpassed in many ways, the A-12 still holds the speed and altitude record for air-breathing jet-piloted aircraft, Mach 3.29 at 90,000 feet. After cancellation, the deployed A-12s and the 8 non-deployed aircraft were stored at Palmdale for several years before being sent to museums across the U.S. In the late 1990s, urban explorer and aviation enthusiast Jeremy Kranz became fascinated with the legendary A-12 and embarked on a quest to locate the crash site of one of the only 2 fallen Oxcart pilots. Over the years, Kranz visited dozens of sites in the Nevada desert. In 2009, he finally located the 42-year-old debris field scattered across the desert floor. By this time, the CIA had honored the fallen pilot on its memorial wall at agency headquarters, but it had never publicly acknowledged the crash site. Thus, during a subsequent visit to the site, Kranz erected a memorial to the pilot, including a miniature model of the A-12 Oxcart. As stated by Colonel Ken Collins, quote, "The A-12 is the pride of the CIA and everyone associated with it, as it should be."